Hi friends, it's Deanna Williston with Our Blooming Catholic Life, and on this Water Wednesday, I wanted to look at manufactured ecosystems. I know, you're like, what? It is totally a valid topic, especially for this election cycle. People are looking at candidates and saying, well, nobody's perfect. You're going to have to make concessions. And where do you draw the line? Do you go with the party who is okay with legalizing abortion, but says that you need to legislate the family, or that you need to legislate the environment, and that's the way to fix things? It's so funny because they say you can't legislate abortion, that doesn't work, but apparently legislation does work for the environment and for families. There's so much contradiction out there going on. What the heck, right? But the ecosystem and environment is something that we can address right here. Your families you can address too, starting with your very own family. You can make a difference right there. That's not the topic for today. Or is it? The Lord works in such mysterious ways. But manufactured ecosystem, what I was going to talk about is water. Our wastewater. We've been talking about our wastewater since the summer, right? And I had never thought about it this way until I heard that term, looking up septic safety. And honestly, they're talking about septic tanks, but it's not just septic tanks, because if you're on city water, your water does go to a water treatment plant, and it is also a manufactured ecosystem. That's not just a tank out there that holds your waste. It's not just a giant tank that processes your waste. Because how do you think it's being processed? It's being processed by microorganisms. If you don't believe me, get out there and watch the Magic School Bus episode on water treatment plants. And you'll see it pretty quick. Oh, if that's online, I'm going to try and link it. I don't know if I can, but if it is, I will link it for you. So manufactured ecosystem. Have you thought of your wastewater as a part of a manufactured ecosystem? It is. It's an ecosystem, but it's manufactured. So it's not going to self-regulate. We have to help it. And everything we do on this level affects the environment. Just like everything you do in your little family, everything you do to your body, everything you do in your family affects society. Everything you do to your water affects everyone else, whether or not you realize it. So we have to start with us. So how do you take care of the water in your own home? Well, we've always talked about use less, reuse when you can, like your gray water, again, where it's legally applicable that you're allowed to use it. So what's the other one talk about? Trash it if you can. This was one I didn't entirely agree with. I get it. Don't flush it down the toilet. Don't use your toilet as a trash can, because it's not. That's going out into your backyard or into the water system, and somebody else is going to have to filter it out, or it's going to clog up the works somewhere along the line. So if it's trash and it needs to be trashed, it needs to go in the trash. Now, if it's something that's compostable, have you tried to compost? Again, I'm sure there's lots of local regulations on composting. Not everybody does it, and we don't probably all do. I don't know that anybody does it perfectly. But it is possible. You get a nice small container. They make them that supposedly don't smell or anything. Hey, if anybody'd like to send me a free sample, I'll try this out, because I don't use this method myself. But a lot of people complain about, I live in an apartment, whatever, I can't compost. I bet you can. Especially if you have one of those city garden projects, you may be able to add your compost from your kitchen into it. So you're going to have to find somebody and find that out if you can do that. What I do is I have indoor rabbits, most of you know, and so we actually compost their litter. Rabbit poo, by the time it gets to us, has been eaten, processed by the rabbit's body. Surprise, they re-eat it. That's when it looks like they're cleaning their backsides. They're actually getting a special bunny snack we call the cecal, which is actually a very soft and very smelly rabbit poo. But they take it right out and they eat it and process it again. So by the time it comes out, there's not much left to it, and that's why rabbit poos are so small and don't smell. Probably something you didn't want to know today. But we also feed them hay, and we always have hay in their litter boxes. So it is a great material for composting. And to that we add old vegetables, we add leaves. We don't really have grass clippings, but if we have yard clippings, we can add it to that. And every now and then I go out and make an effort at shoveling it. And honestly, it makes beautiful compost. I've heard from nurseries that they love using it. So that's where like all our old vegetables go. We don't put meat or eggs in there or dairy because that's nasty and it's going to get smelly and gross. So we don't do that. So we compost what is compostable. We trash what needs to be trashed. What goes in the toilet is only what needs to go in the toilet. So think about where you're putting your waste in your own house. It's going to make a huge difference to everyone else, because at some point some dumps, especially in cities, are exporting their trash to other countries. So be responsible, sort out, recycle what you can, right? Use what you can appropriately. And of course, we all know what needs to go down the toilet, right? It also is warning you here. I know people have garbage disposals and they love them, but if it needs to be chopped up, it really shouldn't be going down a drain. It's going to clog somewhere along the line. It is something nasty. That is probably something that actually needs to be composted. And again, if you have eggshells or something, maybe we'll find uses for that down the road. But things like grease do not need to be going down your drain. Coffee grounds, do not put coffee grounds down your drain. Let's see. Oh, here was a fun fact. It says here, and this is according to the John Todd Company. It's a septic company. And they say food scraps that you put in your wastewater, including from the garbage disposal, take 20 times longer to process inside a septic tank than normal wastewater and solid waste does. 20 times longer. Put that stuff in the compost. It does not belong down a drain. Not a toilet, not a sink. It does not. Chemicals and drugs should not be going down your drain. And that includes like paint thinners, oil, grease. I know my little town actually has, it's oddly in the center of town, there are these little tanks where you can take used different kinds of greases and dump them. So your town or community may have that as well, where you can dispose of those chemicals. Let's see, pharmaceuticals, oftentimes drugstores will take them back. Not every time, but contact the manufacturer of the drug or your prescription company to find out where you can send them. Those are like nearly impossible to get out of our water system once they're in, and they are polluting everything. Photographic chemicals, most people don't develop their own photographs anymore, but those don't need to go in there. Weed or insect killer, are you kidding me? It's a manufactured ecosystem, folks. If you are killing the yeast and bacteria that are processing the gunk in our water, yeah, well, you're killing them. It also tells you to kind of go lightly on your bleach and your antibacterial soaps and your harsh cleaning chemicals. So this is one to consider right now. Remember the beginning of COVID when they said use soap and water, that you didn't need to have bleach and antibacterial stuff for everything. Simple soap and water did the trick, right? And I think everybody amped up the game, threw that out. Nobody heard that. Everybody went to hardcore antibacterial soaps and cleaners and bleaches, and that may not be needed. Remember the beginning, and they're still saying it, regular soap and warm water do the trick. So use the least that you need to, because those antibacterial things that you're putting in the water, guess what it's killing? It's also killing the good bacteria that we need. I've been worried about this one for a while. I feel like this is going to come back to haunt us, and I'm really worried about that one. We aren't going to get some super bugs down the line that we made during COVID. So just be careful. Use the least of what you need. Use the most natural things that you can. Use less water. This one I found really interesting. Again, this is from the John Todd Company. Some of it I'm pulling from other sources, but I'm using theirs as an outline. To be aware that a lot of times water softeners, laundry, and dishwashers use a lot of water. I've heard back and forth that a good, efficient dishwasher uses less water than washing dishes by hand. So I don't know that debate. Maybe it's one of those things where statisticians make it skewed to look like whatever that researcher wants. I don't know. But if you're going to run the dishwasher, fill it up. If you're going to run, wash them by hand, use the least amount of water you need. Use more arm power and less of that spray power. I guess that's what I've got there. And the laundry blew my mind, because even the most efficient laundry machines still use a lot of water. So some of the other sites were telling me tips like, okay, I'm from like Amish country, and so I tend to do all my wash on Monday It's all done. I multitask and do other little things, but that way the laundry's all done. Okay, it takes me into Tuesdays sometimes because I get distracted. So we've seen that that's not really a good thing for me because I do get distracted. So maybe doing all your laundry at one time isn't the best thing. Now, if you're using a laundromat, it's a totally different issue. But if you're doing your laundry at home and you're doing all your laundry on one day, you're overloading your septic system or even the public system. It's a huge amount going through. Imagine if everybody all did their laundry on Monday. The water systems would be overwhelmed, completely overwhelmed. So try and space it out. Do it on a day. If you live in an apartment building and they have washing machines, try to do it on a day that nobody else is really using them. It'll be easier for you to get access to the machines and better for the whole water system as well. So we're not inundating it all at once. It can't really process and handle all of that at one time. And so I'm trying to spread mine out over 3 or 4 days now. I have a limit on the number of loads I'm going to do in a day, and I'm hoping that that's more friendly to my septic system. Another thing to consider is if it's pouring down rain on the day you plan to do laundry, don't do that laundry that day. Try and do it on your drier days. Now that's going to get you to try and be more flexible as well. And just like when we talked about meal planning, having some flexibility, maybe the ability to switch days here and there, you should be able to do that. And if you have something, a planner like the Happy Planner, when you're sitting and doing your meal planning, I like to look at the weather as well. So like I don't want to eat chili on a day that's 90 degrees. I prefer to eat chili on cold days. That's me. So I look at the weather ahead of time when I am planning my week. So when I'm looking at that weather, I may see that I need to switch up what day I'm doing laundry. So things I can use in my planner are pencil things in, possibly, but also remember in the Happy Planner, those flat matte stickers, you can put them over something to change what it is. So you can swap days that way by using those plain matte or non-shiny stickers. Other things are like if you have a septic field, don't be running heavy machinery or cars over your septic lines. You're going to destroy them. Also, don't put plants near it. Respect the septic fields. Respect them. They're there. They need to do a purpose. Hold on for just 1 second. Sorry, my little dog needed back out even though we'd just gone back in the house, but it's okay because we're not running the AC or the heat right now, so nothing was harmed. No energy was wasted there except our time, friends. Sorry about that. So yeah, respect the septic field. So for us here, because we have a backyard and we do have a septic, we can't run large machinery over it. We shouldn't be planting big plants. The person before us had planted these ornamental trees there. They need taken out. They've gotten too big, and maybe we could put some small little plants like hostas or something nearby that aren't going to go psycho and try and sneak their roots into our lines and mess everything up, right? You could have some small plants, but it's normally just grass over top of the septic field. Now, what does that mean for you living in apartments, right? Well, your water's going into this manufactured ecosystem, right? And you're like, how does it affect me? Well, okay, I don't know that you can go to the wastewater treatment plant and help them out, but you probably spend time in a park near your house. Are you keeping that park clean so that what goes into the wastewater isn't overloading the system? So for you, you have a different sort of gathering system for your wastewater. You need to be careful. Don't let trash get in the street that's going to wash down the storm drains. Don't pour chemicals down there. Hey, do you pick up that trash that's on the sidewalk? Because if you don't, it's going to end up in your storm drains. Do you take the time to go enjoy a park? And, I love those people who say, I'm just throwing this apple core. It's biodegradable. Yeah, it would be if it was in a compost heap. But if you throw it off to the side of the road, you know what? You're attracting mice. And mice are going to be attracted to the road. And then hawks and other animals are going to be attracted to the road to eat the mice. And that's why we end up hitting animals on the road a lot of time. Don't be throwing it to the side of the road. Dispose of it properly. And if you can, if it's biodegradable waste, put it in your compost heap, right? So when you're going to the park, please use reusable things. Yes, you can still put your paper bags and whatnot in the trash, but then you're adding to the trash, and that's got to go somewhere too. If you're throwing it on the ground, it's going to go into the wastewater, and somebody's got to filter it out. If you're in a park and it says stay on the trails, guess what? Do you know why you need to stay on the trail? if you go off the trail, you are messing up the ecosystem. And you may not think you're doing it, but the second you step off that trail, your weight is compressing the earth. Now it's not going to be filtering the water as effectively. Now it's not going to be aerated as well for the different microorganisms in the soil to be able to process the water that comes through it. It's not going to be able to process the chemicals. There's all kinds of chemical exchanges down there. You need to stay on the trail. If you go off the trail, you're also probably wearing away the grass. That grass is helping that water slow down and get absorbed into the earth rather than running off, picking up all that trash and pollution and taking it into the major waterways. By getting it to soak into the earth and slow down and use the earth as a filter, that water is being filtered. It's an extra step. And you can help that extra step by staying on the path. Quit jumping off the path. You don't need to go off the path. It's okay. Stay on the path. Every time you step off, you're changing something in the environment. And oftentimes it's a very elaborate manufactured ecosystem designed to work a very particular way. And we need you to do your part. Stay on the path. Use recyclable things if you can. Actually use reusable. They make like silicone food grade Ziploc kind of bags, right? They got the little zipper at top. You can use those. You don't have to use the plastic baggies that throw away. You don't even have to use the ones that are plastic, and they may last you for a few years and then you junk them, right? No, these silicone bags are going to last a lot longer, and they're dishwasher safe. And you can wash them by hand, whatever you're doing. So check those out. Those are a great new alternative that's there. And you can take them to restaurants and bring home your little doggy bags yourself. You don't need to use the store containers. I'm terrible at that. I'm good at that at some places and bad at others. I need to start keeping a stash of those bags with me. So I know, friends, this was so much for you. So much good information here. But the number one things are sort your waste. What needs to go in the toilet needs to go in the toilet. Does it really need to go down the sink? Food does not need to go down the sink. Grease, meat, eggs, they don't need to go down the sink. Coffee grounds, they don't. If it's vegetable waste, you can probably compost pretty much all your plant matter. Compost that. Find a place that accepts the compost if you need to. It may be available in your area and you don't know. Chemicals, see if your local township or city has a place where you can take used motor oil, all that stuff. There may be a place to take it. Old medication, there is probably a place that you can take it. Try a pharmacy, and if a pharmacy doesn't work, you can call the police if it's something really dangerous. Otherwise, call the manufacturer of the drug themselves or your insurance company and find out where you can trash that appropriately. Let's see. Try not to use weed or insect killer if you don't have to. Find natural ways of doing it that don't pollute. One of the most popular non-toxic ways right now involves Epsom salt. And you know what? Your lawn doesn't really want a lot of salt dumped on it. Salt kills life, plant life, and that's why it kills weeds. So it's not always the best to put on plants. Okay, let's see there. Yeah, and just use the minimal amount of water you need. Take care of all of our water filtering systems, whether it's your yard, it's a park, it's that little grassy area next to the sidewalk. That's actually a water filtration system. You need to take care of it. Try to stay off the grass, right? Or take care of it. Make sure it gets aerated. If you have a lawn, a lot of people will aerate it in the fall. That is a great thing to do. Use the least amount of chemicals that you need to use on your lawn to keep it nice. Stay on the trails. Don't trash. Don't be a litter bug. What's that old saying? Give a hoot, don't pollute. I think these are all really great tips that we can all use. And again, it's saving the environment in your home. When you start doing it in your home, it's going to be easier to do it on bigger and bigger scales. Just like saving the world is easier when you start with yourself and your family, and then it works its way out to the community. It's going to change your attitudes with how you interact with your environment and the choices you make. But it has to start with you in your own house. God bless you, friends.